Hello, I'm Martinez and welcome to a quick overview of the ProTiler plugin for Resolume. ProTiler enables you to tile your content with options for scaling, borders, overlapping, rotation and flipping. In addition to enable any rectangular tile size, the tiles also support transparent sources, enabling even more forms to be tiled. The background here is, for instance, made of just a couple solid color sources. The first parameter is the source width and height of the area you want to tile. It's filled in here, must not be confused with this, which is the source properties of the tile or image. For the most part, this is pretty straightforward, and you can just enter the pixel dimensions of your image, which is 1024 by 1024 pixels in this case. After adding a few columns and rows, you can see it will tile seamlessly. If you are using resources that are larger in size than the canvas of your composition, an additional step is required. For this tileable tile image from cgbookcase.com at 4K resolution, you will either have to scale it down using the source properties or using the clip transform properties. I would suggest using the clip properties, as it is a bit more easy to match up with the tiling plugin, as you can just duplicate the values entered here into the source width and height entered here. If we now add a few columns and rows again, you will see it seamlessly tiles. The scale value sets the relative size of the tiles. This also affects the offsets and the maximum border size to maintain consistency of the tiles throughout the whole scale range. Then we can add columns and rows to the tiles. This is the base for the plugin and lets you have any combination of tiles up to a 20 by 20 grid. The base offsets will shift the tiles ±1 scale tile in the X or Y direction, or both. This can be used to make quick and easy animations by linking it to one of the transport functions inside Resolume. The origin parameter sets the starting corner of the grid, which can influence border overlap and rotation. The border can be set to both horizontal and vertical, or just one of the two directions. The border size is then also expansive from 0 to 1, meaning it expands, and it's overlapping in a range of 0 to -1. For an expansive border, one in the 0 to 1 range, the border between the tiles will be transparent. If overlapping using a negative border size, 0 to -1, the stacking order will be dependent on the origin corner. Overlapping tiles also blend based on the source properties. This means we can open up the shaper source and change its color to more of a transparent one to see what happens with the image then. For the rotation of the tiles, there are 3 different rotation modes to select from. The X2 All mode rotates all tiles from -360 degrees at -1 to +360 degrees at 1. The Y value has no application in this mode. The X2Y mode rotates from the X value for the first tile in the grid, which is selectable by the origin parameter, to the Y value for the last tile in the grid. The towards XY mode is a bit special. Here, the combination of the X and Y values are a point that the tiles points towards. Center of screen is 0 for both values. Left is X -1. Right is X at 1. Bottom is Y equals -1. And top is Y equals 1. Also note that the base offsets will affect the tiles in this mode, then based on the relative position to the X and Y point and not tile placement as for the other modes. The last part of the parameters is dedicated to a flipping matrix. This can be combined in any which way. The first two odd and even tiles will flip every other tile, starting at the first or second tile respectively. Then you have odd and even columns, followed by odd and even rows. One thing to note here is that the odd and even columns and rows will always be in the same place. Odd and even tiles may change their place depending on their relative position within the number of tiles. For instance, flipping odd tiles horizontally in a grid with an even number of rows will look like you flipped an odd row. However, then flip a row and you will be back to a checkerboard pattern. As you can combine all of the flips, it is just a matter of flipping a row, odd or even, and it will flip half the flip tiles. This was the basic rundown of the plugin parameters. You can of course also stack the plugin to create tiles of your tiles and animate that as well. I hope you have found this useful and have fun exploring its capabilities. Cheerio!